Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And it's Friday, and it's the NBA 9-game slate tonight to end the work week for you guys. Even though we're all looking forward to NFL wildcard weekend as well, Friday night still has a solid slate of games here. In this one, we're taking a look at the Pacers playing host to the Hawks. They will be without Tyrese Halliburton, so we're probably going to try to pick on them. Also got another game video up and our player prop, so make sure to continue to follow along with us each and every weekday this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we put up all this great stuff in written form as well. Also have our odds finder tool on there. You can use that to make sure you're getting the best juice back on all these bets you make in the across U.S. sports books this NBA season, I should say. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 9-game slate and then talk Pacers and Hawks.
Yeah, it starts with your Knicks looking to stay hot. They're minus 4.5 at Washington. The Hawks are minus 2.5 at Indy, as you mentioned. Yeah, Halliburton's going to be out for 2 weeks, it looks like. A couple other guys questionable. Pelicans minus 5 at Detroit. Of course, still without Zion. The Warriors minus 8.5 at the Spurs with Steph Curry back. The Suns, very shorthanded, are plus 5.5 at Mini. Thunder made us proud, beating the Sixers in Philly last night. But they're plus 5 on a back-to-back here in Chicago. Orlando is plus 5 in Utah. The Rockets are plus 10 in Sacramento in an immediate rematch there. And then the other game we break down looks like wrong team favored. Clippers minus 2.5 at home against the Nuggets with the Joker questionable but expected to play. So looking at Hawks Pacers here, yeah, Halliburton's out, we know. They also have Turner and O'Shea Brissett and Aaron Nesmith questionable. And Miles Turner being probably the most key of those guys, he's dealing with back spasms. And if he's not able to go at his highest level, you know, they're going to struggle down low. Without Turner, they gave up 119 to the Knicks 2 nights ago and 33 free throws, lost the rebounding battle. They only gave up 38 paint points, which is really strange, but I mean, maybe that's just the way the Knicks are playing right now with Jalen Brunson carving teams up in the mid-range. And the Knicks did hit 15 threes, and they won despite losing the assist-to-turnover ratio badly. And that's really the key thing for the Pacers, right, is they win assist-to-turnover. They have great team ball movement and a high assist-to-field goal ratio because of Tyrese Halliburton. And you, look anywhere on their offense, and it's driven by Baby, Josh's boy. They're number 1 in fast break points, 3rd in assist-to-field goal ratio, 5th in threes. He can get hot himself. He can find guys. And so without him, we do expect the offense to tail off a little bit. But they've only played 1 game without him this season. And it was a weird win over Golden State. In Golden State, who had everybody, but, you know, we won't get into that. The point is, going back to last season, they had lost 5 straight without him with a negative 8.5 net rating, a 108 offensive rating. So the fact that these teams have gone over in 9 straight meetings, there's a lot to indicate another over. If you just look at the previous history or the trend that the Hawks go over as road favorites, whatever. But I'm really trying to zig and zag here and take under 238. I think it is a sharp play because Halliburton's out. Because Trae Young missed a game with illness, and we don't know how effective he will be. DeJounte Murray has struggled. The Hawks are the worst 3-point shooting team in the league this year, and neither of these teams are getting to the free throw line at a very good clip. So the Hawks probably not going to be able to take advantage of the Pacers the same way the Knicks did. And the Pacers, surprisingly, even with Miles Turner out for that last game, they have the number 1 defensive efficiency rating over the last 3 games. That's against the Knicks, Hornets, and Blazers. Those games are averaging just 221, and they're 7th in opponents' 2-point percentage. So if the Hawks can't hit threes and they're not getting it going in the mid-range, I don't see either team scoring a lot here. But I think we lean towards the Hawks, assuming Trae is ruled in, and we see his props up this morning, so he's probably coming back.
Yeah, I think so. I would worry I probably would love the Pacers in this game, to be honest, if Halliburton was playing. They're going to continue to play at the pace that they play. We even saw that in when he went out against the Knicks. Obviously, they needed to make a comeback, but that's how they play, especially in the second half. They just look to wear you down. But really, when we say we mean Halliburton, right? They play the same way in their second unit in terms of the same pace and the same style of play. So it's not like when Halliburton's not on the floor, the Pacers change their identity. But they're not going to have the tool that they need, which is Halliburton, to be able to pull off what they do, which is everything you said, about their offense is completely correct. I don't believe in their defense. I do believe in the sort of lack of pace that we've seen at times with them in these lower scoring games, even against a team like the Hornets. And that Blazers game was a solid game for them as well, but they've been struggling a bit on offense. Need a Dame to give them 50 last night to be able to even try to hang with the Cavs, and they ended up not being able to do that despite his 50. So that kind of tells you where their offense is at, despite kind of what we thought. But I'm speaking more, against the Pacers defense and really against their opponent's offenses as of late than I am their defense. So I'm just bringing this all around to say, like, if they don't score points, then they don't win. And without Halliburton since last season, you mentioned it's just like a 5 or 6 game span, including this season, but they do score about 11 fewer points in that time frame, and they make about 2 less threes. They get to the free throw line a couple less times. So everything that they do, scoring points in the paint, they can do that in droves for sure. When you look at how they score, and either in transition, it's a lot of threes or layups that are created by Halliburton. Obviously, the assist guy that we know him to be this season, with actually an incredible assist to turnover ratio as well, considering that he's got more than 10 a game, and he's actually got a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, which is huge for them. They do give up points off of turnovers, which I'd be a little bit maybe less worried about, because I don't think TJ McConnell is going to be as fast moving with the ball, or at least not as able to get to the rim the way Halliburton can and carve up the defenses, get into the paint. He's good and slithery for sure, and he's a solid backup point guard. But this offense runs on that, and without the defense there to back it up, I'm not feeling too optimistic about what they're going to do in this game. And the Miles Turner factor as well. Like, I do think you can expect him to be putting up a bit more threes. Capella is out, but John Collins was probably going to get that matchup anyway. The only reason I don't like Capella being out is because they would have probably dominated these boards if he was in, and then I could feel even more comfortable about just saying -2, just book it. But I already feel really good about it in Trey's return, especially without much of a stopper for him, which Tyrese Halliburton would have been at least better at doing than anybody that's left on this team right now.
And they had won 4 straight against Indy before losing at home on December 27th. The Hawks still were amidst their funk there. I mean, it's not to say that they've turned the corner here at all. They are 2-2 in their last 4 road games here, with some decent offensive numbers, and Bogdanovich starting to come around. I mean, the Pacers have a great bench. Don't get me wrong. Guys like McConnell, Mathurin, and the other rookie Nembhard are going to step up here. And we do preach caution in saying the first game the best player's out, attacking that other team so much. But I do think we'll see some offensive struggles down the stretch. So if you are a little wary about backing the Hawks, I think the under does make sense. They've gone under in 3 of their last 4, with playing at a 100 pace, which is slower than the recent meetings have been. And I mean, they're 7th in opponents' 3-point percentage. So how are the Pacers going to score? With those guys out there, Benny Matz is going to be shooting a lot of threes, etc. And will they be able to score? And the Hawks struggle to score down the stretch. They're 24th in fourth quarter points. Indy, interestingly, number 1 at home in fourth quarter points. But Tyrese Halliburton has a 45% assist rate and a 122 offensive rating in the fourth quarter this season. So without him, will they be able to keep it going? Probably not. This is maybe an opportunity to do a live under if it does start to look high scoring at the beginning, or bet that before the game even starts.
Yeah, I'm with it. And you bring up the fourth quarter. Yeah, they're incredible, especially at home. in the fourth quarter. But then I would urge you to look at the third quarter, where they're actually one of the worst teams in the league in terms of net rating at a negative 5.4. Their offensive ratings all the way down to 113, and they play at 100.5 pace, which sounds like it's not too slow, except for compared to other quarters, including the fourth. They play much faster, normally up closer to 103. So, like I said, they're not necessarily going to slow down, but they're going to be much less efficient without him. That him being Tyrese Halliburton, and definitely down the stretch, like you said, it's going to be a much different team. So I definitely prefer an under in this one as well. I think there's a bit of an overvalue there, just because they think there's going to be a ton of pace. But like you've also been talking about, the Hawks going under a bit more as of late, especially on the road. So,
and then we have the Nuggets at plus 2.5 at the Clippers here, 225 total. And the line maybe is set as if Joker's not playing, but he already has props up, so he's apparently playing, or definitely expected to play. He's listed as questionable with wrist injury management, so it's clearly an option for them when they want to rest him, if they're going to rest him. And they host Orlando on Sunday, and the Nuggets been a powerhouse at home. I could definitely see it being more likely that he sits for that one. I guess the fact that they're only 500 on the road maybe is why we have this number. But it's not like the Clippers are dynamic at home. In fact, they are the worst offense in the league at home, and generally a terrible offense when they don't have everybody playing. And yes, like you mentioned, Paul George is out. So is Luke Kennard, for what that's worth. In their last 11 without PG, Clippers are scoring 107 a game. They have a weak assist to turnover ratio. They're negative 5.5 on the net rating here, and they lost at home by 10 to Denver in November. And that was with no Kawhi as well. But the point is what Denver's able to do offensively against this team, right? We talked the last time we took this matchup last week about how Joker owns Ivica Zubac. He owns everybody. The Nuggets own the Clips. They've won 4 straight with a 127 offensive rating and a 30 to 10 assist to turnover ratio, just lighting it up despite playing at the slower pace that the Clips probably want to play at. And in that last matchup, they had a 27 to 6 assist to turnover ratio. Again, just Joker dominating the game, spreading the ball out however you want. I think I'm still fine if you get the surprise rule out that Joker's not playing. But Jamal Murray and Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon and all that supporting cast that wasn't around the last couple of years when Joker was out, they're in. And they're expected to play. Bruce Brown, KCP. Like, the Nuggets are putting their stamp down as the best team in the West. And I don't think there's much of an argument right now as how they're playing the last couple of weeks. And the Clippers are just like a freaking, as Zach Lowe puts it, a freaking science experiment of rest and injury management. They're scoring 105 a game at home. They're going under at an insane rate at home. And the last time they faced this team, they threw in the towel on the front end of a back-to-back in just like 18 minutes, basically. They were just like, okay, yeah, we don't have a chance here. I don't see this as a team. We often talk about the revenge, the bounce back game. We lost at your place. We'll come back. We'll beat you at our place. This is not that type of team that rallies and, does that type of thing. I mean, this is a team that just goes through the motions throughout the regular season, hopes to get, a 3 to 6 seed when it's all said and done, and then see what happens. And Denver is taking no prisoners right now. So, I mean, for them to be underdogs, even though it's on the road, I think we're all over this one.
Yeah, man, it's almost like, what am I missing? Like, I guess it's just that Joker might not play, but even if he didn't play, like, would you put this at plus 2.5 for the Clips? Like, in the Nugs, getting those points? I don't think I would. It would at least be like basically a pick 'em, I guess. But I understand what Joker's on-off numbers are. I understand that they're 3-9 without him, basically since like the 21 season. But just look at who played even when he was, not in those games. There wasn't any. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. only played in 2 of those games, I believe. And then there was no Bruce Brown. There was no KCP, which is the most important, 2 guys that I could really bring up in this instance. So I guess, they're just expecting him not to play. They're expecting the shock. We just saw Kawhi beat the Mavericks almost single-handedly, and really still need a pretty bad game from all of those Mavs role players on the road, as we continue to see from them. I'm not impressed by the Mavs. I'm not really impressed by that win, and I continue to wonder who's going to score for the Clippers no matter what. You talk about what they're doing at home, like you said. Worst offense, worst field goal percentage, playing at a pretty normal pace for them. It's not like it's down in the 94s like where the Mavs play. It's still around like 98, no matter where they play. But it's just an anemic offense entirely. Not getting points in the paint as well. Bottom 10 in rebounding as well, I should say. And despite the fact that they are, basically like the second or best defense at home in the league as well, only giving up about 105 points while scoring about 105.5. It's a really, really good defense, but it's not getting points off of turnovers. There's no transition offense from those from the sort of good defense that they play, just sort of limiting what your best player does. But you're not limiting, Joker in this sense if he's in, and if he's not, that assist, the assist percentage, which is second best only behind Golden State for Denver. It's obviously because they have Joker. But I would also add, like, when it's, Jamal Murray playing a little bit more maybe pick and roll with a few other guys, including Aaron Gordon and the like. Another guy that, by the way, was not available for a bunch of those games that Joker wasn't playing that they lost. I think they're still a pretty fiery offense, and maybe you see a little bit more pace from them trying to push things and just get it and go, which they kind of do when Joker's in there anyway. They just sort of wait for him to lumber up the court, and the other guys are going and playing in transition, to be honest. So I don't really want to touch this total at 224 because of the contrasting sort of styles of play. The Nuggets going over on the road, but the Nuggets offense is so much better at home as well. Their overs on the road are obviously because at home they're getting those 235 plus totals, and on the road they're just not expected to get as many, which is a huge reason for why it makes sense that they would continue to get over on these lower totals. So it does seem like 224, if you're following the trend, like that's around one of those lower totals that you might see if you were playing this game in Denver. Maybe you feel a little bit better about an over because of the way that they're doing that a little bit more on the road. But more importantly, like, I already hit this game as soon as I saw the spread where it opened. I was like, this makes no sense. Woke up and it was a little bit better. It opened at -1.5 for the Nuggets, and now it's at +2.5 for the Nuggets. So continue to feel really, really good about that. And like we're saying, the ball movement for Denver is just going to be too much of a problem, I think, even for LA specifically, in the fact that the Clippers aren't going to be able to keep up. Like, who's scoring with them? If you look at, who's getting points for them this season, they're going to need another huge game from Norman Powell, who's averaging 15. Marcus Morris is 13, and then Reggie Jackson, John Wall, both at 11. Zubac, despite his terror that he went on for like 3 games, still only at 10 points a game. And it's going to be a game where they get dominated on the boards entirely by the second best rebounding team in the league, and it's just all Denver. And I'm the only thing holding me back from betting more is like, what am I missing?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Kawhi bounces back from his stinker against Denver. You look at, he has a 134 offensive rating in his last 7 and at least 126 in every game but that one, and had kind of roasted Denver in 2020-21. So I think if Joker's in there, we might get the over. I'm not saying I'm going to bet on that, though. The way the Clippers are played at home, it's just like too much of a zig when there's a zag here. And I think if Joker happens to sit, you could take the under because I think the Nuggets will drop off in efficiency. But that being said, I mean, he's supposed to play. You don't often see props up when a guy's like legitimately questionable. And the Clippers defense, while good, they just had no answers for that particular man, for the 2-time MVP, who nobody has answers for. And I read off the numbers. Let me just do it again. Last 4, 127 offensive rating, 123 points per game, 30 assists, 9 turnovers as a team. And that's playing at a slow pace. So the Nuggets are going to be putting up 115 to 125 with Jokers out there. And the Clippers have not shown the ability to score that high, especially at home. So, I mean, it's just, that's how you win games. You score more than the other team.
And I just have to bring it up. My one buddy who I talk about betting with consistently, especially on the NBA, literally texted me while we're recording this asking, can you please tell me why the Nuggets are +2 against the Clippers? So I'm going to do a little bit more due diligence to see if I can find a reason, and I'll probably tweet it out if I find it and be like, caution, caution, game video seemed overconfident. But as of right now, like, it's hard to find a way that this game, even if Kawhi does have an explosion of any kind, how are they keeping up with this Denver offense that's one of the tops in the league right now, no matter where it's playing? So, Nate, let's go ahead and jump into your first NBA play a prop for tonight.
Yeah, we're going shooting guard heavy here on the show, and starting with CJ McCollum, who has obviously had to step up for the Pels with no Brandon Ingram and no Zion Williamson. In his last 5, I guess the first one was with Zion in there, but averaging 31 points per game, shooting 53% from the floor with a 31.5% usage rate. And on the road, the last 2, 35% usage in Washington, 37% in Boston. Now they're at Detroit, which, while it's not as much of a challenge, I guess, Detroit is just so bad on defense lately. A 123 defensive rating in their last 11 home games. Opponents are scoring 124, and they're giving up the second most points to shooting guards over the last month. That's 27 a game. CJ's prop is at 26.5, which is high, but I mean, he's not just the shooting guard for this team. He is the number 1 option by a long shot. And he should be able, I mean, he especially thrives against like young, inexperienced players, right? With his deep bag of moves. So going up against Jaden Ivey, Killian Hayes and the like, he should be able to get buckets with ease. And it's -5, -6 for the Pels right now. It's not necessarily expected to be a blowout. So I think he gets his full slate of run. If you want to get some better odds, I mean, the points is like -115. You can go up 1 more point in a win at FanDuel, 28+, and that's +165. So I do think the Pelicans are going to win this game, and CJ being a main reason why.
And a man on fire as well, and someone who, we sort of, I don't want to say we faded, but we were a little bit hesitant to see how he was going to sort of fit in this season. He started out really, really slow with the shooting, even when, BI and Zion have been out. But that has not been the case. We've sort of been also waiting for the turnaround, and I think you're right that it's time to bet on CJ. I love the 28 in a win. I love him to get the 27 for sure, which you can still get pretty good odds on, like you're saying. But him to get 30, if you can find that, it might be worth a little bit, a few, maybe a half unit on that as you put most of it on the points. Detroit so bad on defense at home, but welcome back Bojan the other night so that he could come in and help them beat the Timberwolves with like 130 points or whatever they scored. So they, really love the way that they play offense at home when Bogdanovic is in, and that's why I do think that they're going to hang a bit more. This is a pretty fair line, and even if the Pels are able to cover this, like, they're going to be coming along for the ride as Detroit on offense. So feel pretty good about that. A game that we don't know if the Spurs are going to come on with the dubs for the ride on offense, but probably, to be honest, the way that things have shaped out for the Warriors on the road with that awful defense. 8.5 point spread, but Clay is at 22.5 points. I really just like a lot of guys in this one because of the points factor, but -104 on FanDuel, really good odds that Nate found there, using that odds finder tool to get 23 points for him with really good odds. The 4 threes, he has to get over 3.5 there to hit -120 on that. I mean, he's been doing it. I think we believe in him no matter what, even with Steph back. I think when Steph came back the other night, he still had a super high usage, but in terms of Steph, but so did Clay, and even a higher usage than Jordan Poole, who also put up more points than Clay because he was more efficient, but was not nearly as high of a volume as Clay is going to continue to get. And Clay 29 points in that return. I should say he had 2 more than Jordan Poole, but like a much higher usage. 10 for 24 from the field, but like we said, with that 32%, putting up the ball plenty. In his last 6, obviously only one of those with Steph, but we just told you why it's not of concern that Steph is back. 33 a game in his last 6 on 41% from deep, and 91% from the field, getting there a few more times than he was earlier in the season. 31% usage in those. And like we said, the Spurs, 121 defensive rating in their last 12 at home. They allow about 120 a game there. Second most points to shooting guards on the season. 8th most 3-pointers to shooting guards as well. It's a good matchup for Clay. He actually had a really good game back. Only played them once since he went down and missed like 800 days of basketball. but 24 points on 9 of 22 from there, and 50% from three, making 6 threes in that one. So lots to like for him with the shooting and the fact that he's going to continue to get usage, especially as Steph needs to continue to wear his like bionic shoulder pads to protect him. You still can expect Klay to be putting up the ball 20 plus times.
Yeah, I mean, Steph being back isn't a negative. In fact, it's a positive for Klay. It's he opens the floor up. Klay has made his living on offense, getting open shots because of what Steph Curry can do, because of what Jordan Poole has learned how to do in the absence of Steph. And it seems like Klay has finally gotten his swagger back, finally gotten back to full speed during Steph's absence here. So I think we continue to ride him. I feel real confident about this one at just 22 points. And another shooting guard who might be playing a little more point guard tonight, Jalen Green, because Kevin Porter Jr. had to leave last game with a foot injury. And we don't really have much of a sample size of Jalen without KPJ because they've just basically been in tandem together, soaking up usage for a bad Houston team. He did take 25 shots after KPJ left and got 26 points despite only hitting 9 of those field goals. He played 39 minutes in the 20-point loss. We've talked about it all the time. You are just attacking the usage rate and the attempts when it comes to Jalen Green to get 25-plus points, or you get better odds if you go 26 points at FanDuel. He's averaging 30 in his last 3 against the Kings now, and again, not shooting well, 39% from the floor, but he's averaging 25 field goal attempts, just like the last game. Gets to the line pretty consistently, which is how the Rockets try to score. And this game, this matchup 2 nights ago was played at a 106 pace. Got to 240. Should be plenty of stats to go around here. And while the Kings have a number of guys who can put it up, the Rockets are really, it's Jalen as their playmaker, especially with KPJ out. He's going to get as many shots as he feels like taking.
And I'm sure he's going to feel like taking a lot. And honestly, even though there's not much of a sample size without him, if you look at, when they're on the court together, it does seem like Kevin Porter Jr. has been getting a bit more of the ball, a lot more dominant than Jalen in terms of being on ball. And when either of these guys have the ball, you can put them at point guard, you can put them at shooting guard. They're shoot first, right? And so if Kevin Porter Jr. is not in there to eat up any of Jalen Green's usage, then yeah, I think you feel really good that he's going to be able to get over 25 points against a Kings team that, to be honest, they just spanked them. I do think there's the opportunity for them to spank them again and probably start resting guys a little bit sooner and just being like, get this rookie, this G League team out of here and let's start playing some real competition, especially when the Kings are at home where they're one of the best teams in the league. Using that game theory, I also love the rook on their side, Keegan Murray. I've just been waiting to be able to take him. I think we tried him at the beginning of the season when he was actually playing well and the team was not playing well. Then he started receding in terms of his production. The team started playing better, and then they've started to mix him in over the course of the last 15, 20 games. He's been really good, averaging 13 in those in that time frame and making more 3 threes on 6 attempts as well. Really, it's just like I said, they just played this team. And he scored he just had 16 in that game with 4 made threes, 4 for 11 from deep. The 34 minutes is what I look at as well. In his last 5, he's actually only gotten 30 minutes twice in his last 5, including that one against Houston that he just played. But he's still averaging 14 points, 4 assists as well, and then about 3.5 made threes on 56% over the course of those last 5 games as well. And really, the correlation here is get him the minutes. And is he playing a team on that the Kings can give him more minutes and trust him to be in the game in more crucial situations to get him to closer to 32 minutes. And when they're playing teams like Charlotte, LA, Detroit, Washington, those types of teams, even Utah, Atlanta, he's getting the close to 30 minutes. He's getting the points and he's getting the 3-pointers made. And when he's playing teams like Denver, Memphis, and Toronto, Philly, those teams, not much production there, not many minutes, not really trusted to be on the floor quite as much. So, Houston's allowing the 3rd most points per game to small forwards, the 2nd most 3-pointers made to small forwards. And I think there's an opportunity to get him a lot of minutes and easily get over that 13.5 and then the 2.5 threes as well. Really like him to make 3 tonight.
Yeah, it's a good call. It's an opportunity for Sacramento to rest veterans like Harrison Barnes, and maybe give Sabonis a little bit of a time off as well. I mean, they were surprisingly only up 5 at halftime in this matchup 2 nights ago, and then they just hit the gas and blew them out. We'll see how this one goes tonight. But yeah, they should be able to get lots of different guys touches and showcase that depth against a Houston team that has none.
Yeah, and when Kevin Porter Jr. went out in that game is also pretty directly correlated to when that Houston offense just fell in the tank, and that was why Sac was able to pull away and actually cover the 9.5. So that is all the time we have for you. Looking to go 8-0 the last 2 days of this week to wrap things up for you guys with player props. Continue to follow along with us. We are coming back to you on Monday, and until we see you next, happy betting.